I'm Cheryl, 32. The air in the dining room was thick, like a fog that clung to every corner. My hands were shaking as I stood up, the chair scraping against the hardwood floor like a scream in the silence. Dad sat across from me, his gray eyes cold and calculating, the same look he used to give me when I disappointed him. Worthless, he spat out, the word hitting me like a bullet. You're worthless in this family. I stared at him, my heart pounding in my ears. The family photos on the sideboard seemed to mock me, a reminder of all the sacrifices I'd made. I took a deep breath, the taste of anger and humiliation on my tongue. No, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. You want to know what's worthless? This conversation. This whole family dynamic. But me? I'm the furthest thing from worthless, and I'm going to prove it to you right now. It all started years ago. I remember driving up to my parents' house on a Sunday, just like every other week. The white picket fence and the perfectly manicured lawn were a stark contrast to my life. I parked my old Toyota Corolla behind my brother Ryan's Mercedes and my sister Lily's Audi. Ryan was 36, a successful investment banker, always dressed in a sharp suit, his hair perfectly styled. Lily was 28, a rising star in the fashion industry, her designer clothes and confident stride making her stand out. And then there was me, Cheryl, the middle child, always struggling to keep my head above water. As I walked up to the door, the smell of freshly baked bread wafted out, a bittersweet reminder of the warmth that should have been inside. Mom, Linda, opened the door, her smile bright, but her eyes distracted. Cheryl, you're late, she said, a hint of annoyance in her voice. Dinner's almost ready. I followed her into the dining room, where Dad, Robert, sat at the head of the table, his newspaper in hand. Ryan was on his phone, typing away, and Lily was chatting animatedly about her latest project. The family photos on the mantel were a constant reminder of their achievements. Ryan's graduation from Harvard Business School, Lily's fashion show debut. There were only a few pictures of me and my daughter, Mia, tucked away in the corner, like an afterthought. Cheryl, how's the waitressing going? Ryan asked, his voice dripping with condescension. It's honest work, I replied, forcing a smile. Lily looked up from her phone, her eyes bright. Oh, Cheryl, I almost forgot. I'm going to be featured in Vogue next month. The table erupted in congratulations, Mom clapping her hands excitedly, Dad beaming with pride. I forced a smile, my heart sinking. It was always like this. Their successes were celebrated, while my efforts went unnoticed. I remembered the day I had to give up my dreams. I was 18 with a full scholarship to Stanford, ready to study marketing. But then, Grandma Helen got sick. She had a rare form of cancer, and someone needed to take care of her. Mom and Dad were both busy with their own careers. Ryan was in his first year of college, and Lily was focused on her fashion design courses. So, I stepped in. I spent 3 years by Grandma Helen's side, changing her bandages, feeding her, and holding her hand through the long, painful nights. I used my college fund for her medical bills, chemotherapy, and home care. When she passed away, I was 21, with no degree, no future, and a family that seemed to forget all I'd done. I started working at a local diner, the tips barely enough to pay the bills. A few years later, I got pregnant with Mia. Her father left as soon as he heard the news, leaving me to raise her alone. I took on a night cleaning job, working from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., scrubbing floors in office buildings, my body aching with exhaustion. Mia was my world. She was 8, a student, her eyes full of curiosity and kindness. She knew I worked hard, and she never complained, always giving me a hug and a smile when I came home tired. Back at the dinner table, the conversation turned to Ryan's latest investment deal. Dad leaned forward, his eyes full of pride. Tell us about it, Ryan. I want to hear all the details. Ryan sat up straight, a smug smile on his face. Well, it's been a long time coming. I've been working on this for months, and it's finally paying off. I'm looking at a huge profit in the next quarter. Mom clapped her hands. Oh, Ryan, that's wonderful. You're so smart. Lily jumped in, asking questions about the market trends and the potential risks. I sat there, picking at my food, the taste of it like cardboard in my mouth. Cheryl, what about you? Lily asked suddenly. Any exciting news? I blushed, my heart pounding. Well, I was named Employee of the Month at the diner and Mia made honor roll again. Ryan looked at me, his eyebrows raised. Employee of the Month at a diner? That's nice, he said, his tone dismissive. Dad cleared his throat. Cheryl, you should really think about getting a better job. You can't keep working at that diner forever. And Mia needs a better future. You should focus more on her education. I felt a lump in my throat. I'm doing the best I can, Dad. I'm working 2 jobs to support us. Dad scoffed. Doing the best you can? You're barely making ends meet. You live in that tiny apartment and you can't even afford to send Mia to a good school. How is that taking responsibility? I felt the anger rising inside me. At least I take responsibility for my choices. I gave up my college dreams to take care of Grandma Helen. I've been supporting this family financially for years, and all I get is criticism. Dad's face turned red. You gave up because you couldn't handle the pressure. College is hard work, Cheryl. Maybe you just weren't cut out for it. The room fell silent, the only sound the ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner. Ryan and Lily looked away, Mom's eyes widened in shock. I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I stood up, my hands balled into fists. You know what? I'm done. I'm done being your family's scapegoat. I've sacrificed everything for you, and you call me worthless. Without me, you wouldn't have a roof over your head. 3 years ago, when you couldn't pay the mortgage, who bailed you out? When Ryan needed money for his business startup, who gave it to him? When Lily needed a loan for her fashion line, who helped her? Me. Always me. Dad stared at me, his mouth open. That was a loan, Cheryl. You can't hold that over our heads forever. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. A loan? I never saw a penny of it back. You all just took, and when I had nothing left, you turned on me. Ryan shifted in his seat. Cheryl, calm down. You're being dramatic. Dramatic. I whirled around to face him. I've been calm for too long. I've watched you all build your perfect lives on my sacrifices. You never once asked how I was doing, how Mia was doing. You just assumed I would always be there to pick up the pieces. Lily started to cry, mascara running down her cheeks. Cheryl, we didn't realize. I looked at her, my eyes cold. Didn't realize what? That I'm a human being with feelings? That I have dreams and goals? That I'm not just your family, 18? Dad finally found his voice. We never asked you to sacrifice so much. No, you never asked. You just expected it, I said, my voice shaking. And now I'm done. I'm putting Mia first. No more loans, no more sacrifices for people who think I'm worthless. I grabbed my coat from the closet and headed towards the door. Mom ran after me, her eyes pleading. Cheryl, please don't leave like this. I turned around, looking at the 4 people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. I've been waiting for years for you to treat me with respect. I'm done waiting. And with that, I walked out the door, slamming it behind me. 3 months later, my life was starting to change. I was sitting in my new 1-bedroom apartment, a small but cozy place in a quiet neighborhood. Mia was doing her homework at the kitchen table, her tongue sticking out in concentration. The walls were covered with her drawings, a splash of color in our new home. I'd talked to my boss at the diner, and he'd offered me a promotion to assistant manager. It came with a raise and better hours, which meant I could spend more time with Mia. I'd also started seeing a therapist, Dr. Emily Davis, who helped me understand my worth and set boundaries. Mia looked up from her homework, her eyes bright. Mom, you seem happier lately. I smiled at her, my heart full. Yes, baby, I am. We're building our own life now. Just you and me. One day, I got a text from Ryan. Cheryl, can we talk? I've been thinking about what you said, and I think you were right. I stared at the text, my heart pounding. Part of me wanted to ignore it, but another part was curious. I called Dr. Davis, and we talked for an hour. She helped me set some boundaries and prepare for the conversation. I texted Ryan back. I'm willing to meet, but we meet in a public place and you come alone. And this doesn't mean everything goes back to the way it was. He replied quickly. Yes to all of that. Thank you for giving me a chance. We met at a coffee shop downtown. Ryan was already there, sitting at a corner table, his eyes nervous. He stood up when he saw me, a hesitant smile on his face. Thank you for coming, he said. I sat down, my hands wrapped around the warm coffee cup. I wasn't sure I would. Ryan took a deep breath. Cheryl, I've been doing a lot of thinking. You were right about everything. I've been so caught up in my own success that I never once considered your feelings. I'm so sorry. I looked at him, searching his face for sincerity. I need you to understand what you did wrong. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the way you treated me, the way you made me feel. Ryan nodded, his eyes downcast. I know. I've been a terrible brother. I realized that after you left. Sandra, my wife, pointed out how much I'd become like Dad. I've been judging people based on their success, and I've been treating you like you're invisible. I listened, my heart softening a little. So, what's going to change? Ryan looked up at me, his eyes full of determination. I want to be a better brother, a better uncle to Mia. I'm going to start by being there for you, really listening to you. And I'm going to pay you back for all the money I owe you. I thought about it for a moment. Okay, but I need to see action, not just words. Over the next few weeks, Ryan followed through on his promises. He called me regularly to check in, sent Mia a birthday gift, and even helped her with a school project. Lily also reached out, apologizing for her part in it all. She invited me and Mia to her fashion show, and it was a wonderful experience. Mom and Dad were more difficult. Dad still hadn't fully apologized, his attempts at reconciliation feeling forced. Mom was caught in the middle, trying to make peace but not really understanding the depth of the damage. 6 months later, Mia and I were hosting our first Thanksgiving in our new apartment. It was a small gathering, just us, Ryan and his family, and our neighbor, Mrs. Thompson. The turkey was in the oven, the smell filling the air with warmth and comfort. Mia was showing Ryan's son, Ethan, her collection of seashells, their laughter filling the living room. I stood in the kitchen, basting the turkey, a smile on my face. The phone rang, and I saw Dad's name on the caller ID. I took a deep breath and answered it. Hi, Dad, I said. Cheryl, his voice was hesitant. Your mother and I were wondering if you and Mia would like to come over for Thanksgiving next year. I looked through the doorway at Mia, her eyes bright with happiness. We already have plans, Dad. But maybe in the future. We'll see. Dad was silent for a moment. Cheryl, I know I said some things that were wrong. I'm sorry. I sighed. Sorry isn't enough, Dad. You need to understand why what you said was so hurtful. You need to respect me and my choices. Dad was quiet, and I could hear him thinking. I'll try, Cheryl. I really will. I hung up the phone, feeling a sense of closure. I knew it would take time for things to fully heal, but I was finally on the path to a better life. I walked back into the living room, where Mia ran up to me and hugged me. Mom, this is the best Thanksgiving ever, she said. I hugged her back, tears of happiness in my eyes. Yes, baby, it is. As I looked around the room at the faces of the people who truly loved and supported me, I realized that I'd finally found my worth. I'd learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about the people who see your value and celebrate it. And I was grateful for the courage to stand up for myself, for the strength to change my life, and for the wisdom to know that I deserved better.